nervous?
No.
Where's your answer?
Dennis Beckham, let the ball out! Dennis Beckham! Dennis Beckham! Dennis Beckham! Dennis Beckham! Oh!
Oh, no! Oh, yes! He missed it.
He's the test around. Nothing's gonna ever keep him down. Welcome to the Suffering from Joy podcast. We're here to discuss the USA 1, Iran 0. Joining me today, a recurring guest, Braden. Say hi, Braden.
Hello. I am completely sober.
A couple new guests today. Brad.
What's up?
Brian.
Hey guys, I'm a little bit intimidated by these professionals. It's my worldwide broadcast podcast debut, so
it's okay.
Thanks for having me.
We normally have like kind of a nice structure here and what we do, and we're gonna throw all that shit out the window and just go ahead and Vibes FC our way through this. So, gentlemen, and I'm gonna let any of you jump in that you want to start off with. What the fuck just happened? We won. What do we do now?
We did exactly what Greg Berhalter teams have done for the last year and a half to 2 years, which is just enough. I mean, if you look at the Gold Cup, just enough, just squeak through. I mean, semifinals against Qatar where we barely got through, had to go to extra time. Look at qualifying, just enough, got through on goal differential, and today, again, just enough. That's typical Greg Berhalter. Now, that being said, we'll probably get our ass kicked 3-0 against the Netherlands.
Well, as a quasi-Netherlands fan, you have a lot more faith in them than me because the only player that's looked good for them is Cody Gakpo, who keeps tacking a couple extra pounds onto his price tag every game they play. Brian, you're new. Anything to say here? What the fuck just happened?
Yeah, absolutely. It was Berhalter ball all the way. I thought the defensive subs were super early and ballsy in a way that Berhalter probably wouldn't agree with me about, but they did it, so I'm happy about that.
And we still haven't managed to see, at least on camera, a sick dime dropped by Greg.
Nope. Fourth minute.
Okay. Yeah, I knew someone was going to correct me.
In my notes. I was like, "There's a sick fucking dime. We're winning this game." And
I
that's
think
what
that's kind of
happened.
how you knew we were on today.
Yeah,
Okay.
like Berhalter wasn't fucking around. Like he brought out it. He's kept it under wraps this entire World Cup so far, and brought out when we needed it the most.
Low key, unlike his Nikes. So just like Brad said, then he keeps it until we need it. Okay. What do you guys want to do? Let's just jump into the game and talk about how much that was the most nerve-wracking 20 minutes of my life, or what do we want to do? Braden?
We could skip to the end, but
Brad, go ahead.
Yeah, you could skip to the end, but I think you got to talk about the first 45 because we were the most dominant team on the field for the first 45. They had chance after chance in the first half. Obviously, the Pulisic goal, and then another one wiped off the board on the closest offside you may ever see in your life, right? With a few other really good chances in there. And I think Iran maybe had one during the first half. My biggest concern, honestly, in the second half was kind of like Brian mentioned. We went defensive way too early for my taste. I thought we could have probably pushed for a second goal and made that last 20, 25 minutes a lot less nerve-wracking.
Yeah, I agree.
I don't love how much Greg is really leaning into the theme of this podcast. Braden, what were you going to say?
No, I was going to say, I agree. I felt that we were very much on top, and if we had continued that and pushed for more of a second goal in the, first 15, 20 minutes of the second half, we could have all saved ourselves some suffering. But it didn't work out that way, and it's fine in the end, I guess.
Yeah, so we're going to be back, Saturday at 9 a.m. We'll be playing Holland. I guess we'll get into that. Maybe we'll do a full preview on it because holy shit, I haven't had the chance to think about anything since the whistle blew about 10 minutes ago. Brian, what do you think? How are we feeling?
Yeah, it's a lot of good individual performances, and we created a lot of chances, but somebody's got to finish those, man. And we're not going to go much further without scoring some of those. And just not to pile on, but I think that we needed to control the ball at the end of the game rather than bringing subs on, and especially putting 3 defensive subs at the same time is just a recipe for disaster. But we got away with it. So
Yeah, and I think if they came down after Haji Wright, you either have two choices at the end of the game there. I think it's the 97th minute. You can either score a goal or you can take the ball to the corner and just kind of hang out for a little bit. You can't like hit a little tiny meek shot and give them another crack at the goal. And it wasn't quite the Greg Berhalter, no, don't take a free hit shit again. But I worry going forward about this team's ability to close games. The other big one for me was in the first half where Sargent tries to make the extra pass and, he has a chance to just roll the ball into the corner of the net, like nice, pass it in. But fuck! All right, whatever. We did it. We got through.
Yeah, I was dogging Sargent early on, but I thought that he did, after the first 10, 15 minutes, he kind of settled in. He was doing good stuff. But yeah, he's not a guy that's dynamic enough in front of goal to take us through the knockout rounds right now. And, I don't know that we have that forward and that this isn't a new problem. But I think at this point, you got to try something different. I would have loved to have seen Ferreira off the bench, but here we are.
I thought Weston was shy on the ball at times today.
Yeah.
It seemed like he was hesitant to make a decision for half a second to a second, and it would kill a play. I vividly remember the first half. He got a pass from Pulisic. Pulisic went on a run and was begging for the ball in the box to be laid right in front of him for a quick little turn shot. And Weston's staring at him. And McKinney decided to just do something else. It's those kinds of combinations that we're not putting together that's going to ultimately kill us.
Yeah, so Brad, I kind of thought the same about McKinney. I had on the 5th minute, I had notes about like McKinney might be just a little too up for it. It felt like I felt like there was a lot of overrunning balls, overhit a few passes and that sort of thing. And all the sort of like, I'm very ready to go in this game when maybe it needed a little bit more of a steady hand type feel, but I can't necessarily fault him for that. Like, you're going to the World Cup elimination match, like you want to be up for it, but it worked out in the end, and we'll just go to that.
Counterpoint on that, Tyler Adams, holy shit. I thought his yellow card was a little soft, like maybe he fouled him, maybe it was from behind. I thought it was a little nudge, but other than that, this team gets destroyed without him just snuffing out every single problem. And it was amazing. Like, I've seen him play plenty of times, Leeds, USA, and he's looked great. And I've been, start that guy, one of the first names on the team sheet. But even against England, where he was great, I think this is his crowning achievement. Brian, tell me I'm wrong.
Absolutely not going to tell you I'm wrong. There's a reason I've been on that Adams train for a long time. He is the most important player we have, and particularly for a team who's not able to score a lot of goals right now. You're going to have to clean a lot of things up on transition, and he just always seems to be there. But I think that a lot of people are sleeping on Musa. I mean, that guy has been all over the pitch, winning the ball, defense, offense. Got a little bit tired, right? But both of those guys have been immense for the whole tournament so far.
Yeah, the midfield has just been really, really good through these first 3 games, and sometimes we're frustrated a little bit with how. I'm happy we got through. Don't get me wrong, but it's frustrating with how we got through and only scoring 2 goals. But I also have to remind myself to take the step back and realize we still haven't given up a goal in open play. And there aren't too many.
That's a great point.
There aren't too many teams that are standing left that can say that right now. So I'm pretty. The defense, besides a leaky play here and there, has been very, very good for 270 plus minutes now.
Well, I mean, let's talk about that a little bit. So we get the pregame lineup. We all have our 15, 20 minutes, whatever. I don't know how long you guys took. I have a 15-minute cap to freak out about. Oh my God, Cameron Carter-Vickers. Yeah, he's a little quicker. Yeah, he can pass the ball a little better than Walker Zimmerman. Celtic's a better team than Nashville SC. Fine, Walker's been okay outside of the Wales moment. Braden, what did you think? Were you freaking the fuck out, or were you just kind of like, oh, okay, I can see it, and like, let's just roll? What do you think?
I was mostly that it's fine. For me, it was more a question about Zimmerman and kind of how it's gotten to this point, because it wasn't that long ago that it was like, it's Miles Robinson, Walker Zimmerman. Like, that's our center back pairing. Like, 100% that is what it is. Obviously, Miles had the Achilles tear for Atlanta. Rest in peace, like the rest of our team. But it just seemed like it wasn't going to be it just seemed odd that he was sidelined for such a pivotal matchup. But I thought Carter Vickers, like, you take that last penalty shout at the end away, and I thought he was kind of fine in this game. Like, it grew into it, I think. Like, I think it wasn't great at first, but got better as the match went on.
Yeah, I mean, Adam started barking at him like in the first 5 minutes, and I think once he kind of settled down, we were all kind of good to go. Brad, did you see anything different?
No, I thought, we looked fine. Really nothing to add there. I really do think that defensively we're in good spots, and that's going to have to be the key to take this through. We're going to have to win a lot of these 1-0 type games if we're going to continue to move on.
Brian?
Yeah, I mean, I'm a bigger fan of CCV than probably most U.S. fans are.
But he's so Spursy.
Yeah, no, I know. And I was surprised to see him.
At the end.
My first thought was, oh, did Zimmerman pick up an injury? Right. But, it was a gutsy tactical move. And I think that, there were a couple of moments where it was clear, like, these guys haven't started together in central defense before, but not a whole lot, right? Really. And I think a little bit of work with those two, and that's a great pairing.
No, I agree. And my first reaction was like, well, maybe he's, lacking a little bit of fitness. Nashville got knocked out in the first round of the playoffs, or maybe we've seen a couple of people get sick. Maybe something happened like that. But overall, do you agree with the call? Obviously it worked, like hindsight's 2020, but Brian, like, would do it again 10 out of 10 times, or what do you think?
Yeah, I'd do it again. I wouldn't have done it in the first place, but I'm going to give Berhalter credit for making a good move on that one.
Greg eventually did the right thing take. I'm sure that won't be the first one. Brad, thoughts?
No, I actually thought it was a good move. And if you look at the last 8 to 10 minutes of that game, I have to go back and rewatch, but I would argue that the fresh legs of Zimmerman in those last few minutes won 6-7 headers and cleared out the ball on several occasions. So it really did, I think, when we brought him in, brought the fresh legs in, it really solidified the back line towards the end, with the exception of the heart-stopping play with about a minute to go.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't know. I thought the entire back line did a great job outside of the occasional kind of hairy moment here and there. But and I mean, Reem misplayed a ball or two, but for me, he's been our best surprise at this tournament. I think a bunch of us were hoping he would at least be on the roster the way he's been playing for Fulham. And
I don't see how you could watch him at Fulham and not have him as your number one center back right now on this roster.
Well, especially you see him, you put him next to Anthony Robinson, and it's like, oh, okay, this is just like club.
Yeah. He's been fantastic in Fulham for about the last 9 months to a year. And I mean, Greg Berhalter, he made the point before the tournament. He goes, have you actually watched him play? When people were asking why he's on the roster. I know there's PTSD for some folks when it comes to Tim Ream on the national team, but the fact is he's in the best form, arguably, of his career right now.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, the last time Fulham got promoted, they just automatically took Tim Ream out of the starting lineup because everyone knew he wasn't up to it. And then he was so good last year, they kept him in, and he's continued to be so good at higher level. It's just amazing. Is he 35?
Yeah.
Amazing. You can be in the best form of your career. And look, center backs peak late, but that's late for any position. But it's been really a pleasure to watch him thrive.
Yeah. And there's the famous anecdote with Pep Guardiola after Fulham ended up losing on this absolute horseshit Kevin De Bruyne penalty. But Fulham had played him to a man the entire 90 minutes at City. And Guardiola comes up to Ream after the match and says, oh, if you were 24 instead of 34, you'd be starting for me. And Ream goes, that's great, but I'm 35. Braden, what'd you think? The back line looked pretty good?
Yeah, and I'm going to do a full mea culpa on Tim Ream. Like, I thought he didn't belong anywhere near this, even with him playing well at Fulham. Like, I've suffered full from the PTSD that Brad mentioned as far as Tim Ream. And he's been great. He's been absolutely fantastic for the U.S. To the point that I think it makes sense as far as doing this with Carter Vickers, like that he was the one to integrate with a new player and not Zimmerman. I think that's a kind of a key point here. I didn't think the back line was great this game. Like I was very nervous at times. Like they weren't challenged that much in the first half. What they did have to do, they took care of it, but they got there in the end, and that's really kind of all you have to do is a central defensive pairing sometimes.
Did Turner have to make a save today? I don't remember one, but I might be forgetting something.
One towards the end of the game.
I think on the penalty shout, like there was actually a shot on net, but like they wanted the penalty instead.
Okay, yeah. And I mean, let's go ahead and do the referee right now since everybody's going to – I always try to save it till the end and it never happens, so let's just go ahead and do the refereeing thing. I didn't think any of the penalty shouts had a shot in fucking hell, and it would have been a travesty against justice for them to give either of those. He was a little shy on giving Iran some yellow cards, but other than that, I thought he was good.
I thought that dude was insistent upon making it a rugby match for the first 55 minutes of that match.
Well, and that's what I didn't understand about Adams getting the yellow. Like, yeah, maybe he kind of nudges the guy from behind. It was, maybe a foul. I don't hate the guy for calling it, but you look at all the other shit that got let go, including the foul where the guy clearly just takes out Sargent. Yeah, Sargent leaves a leg in that ends up with him, I'm assuming, getting hurt from the way it sounded pretty badly. But, like, none of that was a yellow card until, we were really in, like, stretch full where the CONCACAF comes into play for us time. Brian, what'd you think?
Yeah, I'm not as down on the refereeing in this game as some people. I think at the beginning, both of the teams were fairly well behaved, and the referee was really determined not to interject himself. And then there were moments in the second half where he probably should have and didn't. But overall, I don't think that there was any really important call that was blown, so I'm okay with it. Coming as a former youth referee, it wasn't too bad.
So no bias at all.
You had mentioned, by the way, potential injuries. Reports coming through that Pulisic is actually heading to the hospital right now for scans.
Fuck.
Did we decide if that was his actual, like, male genital area? Because when he came off, it looked like he was holding his thigh.
They're saying abdominal. So
okay, interesting.
So I heard abdominal and was like, this dude has broken ribs. Like that's what I heard as far as it, because it's just like the way that he was walking and the way it was. It didn't seem great.
No, and I mean he looked like he was having trouble breathing, and that's a definite common symptom of broken ribs. If you guys have never experienced it, I highly recommend avoiding it. Just saw something that he is in the hospital with testicular torsion as well.
Fuck.
Oh.
Everybody's favorite sports injury.
It hurts
the two
just to
most
say.
terrifying words in the English language.
Oh. So do they find a spot for Gio on Saturday now? Or does he just stay in exile?
It's a good question. I would assume they just slot Aronson in like they did at halftime, but I mean, maybe Gio becomes a sub. Let's talk
Turn
about
into Winalda's Twitter Spaces.
Oh my god!
I'm sorry.
All right, no, it's fine. That's what we're here for. I told you guys to go let loose in Vibes FC. This, we're all about jokes. We won. We're going through. Whatever you guys want to do, throw it out there. I assume they're going to play Aronson. Anybody else disagree?
Oh no, I think he has to be in the lineup. The way he's played these first few games, he's been one of the more dynamic attacking presences we've had on the field. I think you need to have somebody who can press the ball forward and actually make defenders defend, because we haven't been doing enough of that.
Yeah, and I don't know. There's like 25 things I want to say right now, but do we know why like Gio didn't see the field today? Or are we thinking that's just all Greg going defensive, or what?
Greg felt like one goal was enough.
I think that's right.
Damn it, Greg.
I mean, he's really just waiting to unleash the secret weapon of totally fresh Gio in round of 16. That's what I think's happening.
That's what you think's happening, or that's what you hope's happening?
I mean, no, that would actually require Greg thinking ahead, so I'm totally guessing here.
His Nikes did look good today.
They always look good.
Well, yeah. These ones looked especially good.
Do you think he just flies to Oregon ahead of time and just looks at a whole wall of shoes and decides what he's going to take to a trip for like Qatar?
I think Phil Knight just hand delivers every shoe he wants Greg to wear.
Oh, that's fair.
Is Phil Knight still alive? Did I make that up?
No, he's like 80. They just had a 80th birthday basketball tournament or something in Portland for him.
Oh, okay. No. I saw the basketball tournament and was just like, oh, did Phil Knight die and I missed that? All right. Okay, well, that was a weird segue. But I mean, subs in general, anybody want to jump in? Like, do you think they were good? I would have gone Ferreira over Haji Wright, but, whatever, it worked. But anything for any of y'all?
No, I mean, for the most part, I thought they were fine. I didn't see anything that stood out as being egregious outside of Shaq Moore. That's a guy that I don't need to see on the field ever again in a U.S. uniform when it comes to high level. If you want to play him in the Gold Cup, fine. Not going to complain. Put him out there during a World Cup, he should not be there.
Yeah,
this level's way too high for him.
I vigorously defended him coming on against England instead of Yedlin, and watching that, I was like, oh, good Lord. Throw Christian Roldan at right back instead of this guy. I don't care, just not that again.
Yeah.
Yeah, Moore's been bad. And, his defending is okay. He needs to not run all the way up the field every time because and he's not useless. He's counterproductive in the attack. People keep feeding him nice balls and then he just loses it or just, I don't know. It's not the sub I would have made, but again, it worked. Ferreira I thought was a no-brainer, which we didn't get. Having somebody who can make some dangerous runs and sort of keep that back line honest when Aren needed to push, I think would have been a lot more helpful than what we got from Haji. I understand the reasoning for it. You want somebody who can hold up and do some more sort of strong defensive work. But I think Ferreira would have been a better shot. And again, I just think the defensive subs going to a back five that early, we all knew we were going to have 10 minutes-ish of stoppage time. So you're going to play almost 20 minutes like that when you're already under pressure was a mistake that we almost paid for, in my opinion.
Yeah, Braden, anything to add?
Yeah, I was going to add a couple of notes. Like, I had that I probably would have rather seen Ferreira as well. Like, I just think that, kind of like I mentioned, just the ability to run behind against a stretch defense, like, I think that would have been really key. But I understand, like, Haji there to battle. Like, Sargent, I think, had done a lot of good work holding the ball up, and so maybe the thought was Haji can do kind of the same thing. It did not work out that way. Like, I think Haji was pretty poor in this game, but it is what it is. We got over the line. I generally do not like central defensive subs late in a match. Like, I just think that
while you're defending a set piece.
Yeah. Like, I just think it takes you a minute to get into the game and that sort of thing. And sometimes, like, those critical moments happen while a guy is still getting the feel of the game. And we got away with it. And Zimmerman was very good, I thought, in the, like, last 10 minutes of the game. So I think it was the right call. But, man, it made me really, really nervous.
I just hate whenever we do that. And, like, it seems to be part of Greg Ball, which is weird because you would think the way he plays is supposed to be more attacking. But it just seems like, okay, let's get our one goal, maybe, I guess. It really reminds me a lot of, like, first season Austin FC, except, like, with way better players, where it's just, okay, well, we'll kind of kick in some crosses and maybe we'll, like, have a guy beat someone off the dribble or something, but there's no creativity. Like, if you watch Dest or any of these other guys before we get the goal, there's a bunch of people just standing around. There's nobody in the box when we send in crosses. I don't know. We're stuck with him for at least another game. We'll see how that goes. But let's kind of move into what we like to call, like, MVP of the game, or who you thought was really good, and who you want to give a shout out to. Brian, who would you give flowers to?
Yeah, look, I'll give it to Pulisic because he scored the goal, and I talk shit about him constantly. No, honestly, he's been poor. Other than the first half in England, I don't think he's played well at all at this tournament. But you need guys who are going to rise to the occasion, and that's who we've been told he is. And today he was, and I'm sorry he got hurt, so he can have my flowers.
Okay, that sounds good. And future generations of Pulisics have been sacrificed, so we can go forward and play Holland, and we should all be thankful.
Ryan will put the flowers next to the hospital bed.
Yeah. Okay. Brad, how about for you?
I mean, we talked about it already, but it's Tyler Adams for me. I mean, he made so many plays that got us out of trouble that I just don't think you can overlook that, and clearly showing why he's got the captain's armband out there right now.
Okay, yeah, agree. Braden?
So my choice was Yunus Musa. Like, I just think he was incredible this game as far as holding up play. Like, he did tire towards the end of the match, but I think that was an evidence of just how hard he worked through it. Like, there was a lot of times where just the technical security of keeping the ball and keeping it away from Iran in key moments as we progress up the attack, I thought was really key. So for me, it's Musa, but like the other two are also good shouts.
I think the underrated thing on both Adams and Musa isn't necessarily like, yeah, you get a cross and maybe you stop an attack and, you know, kick the ball out for a throw, but there are a bunch of times where just their movement kind of shading off an attack where they kind of ran us, turn around and pull the ball back. They were both incredible in this game. And I know Musa was tired, but he was still doing it. And he won a free kick in 95th minute, 96th minute.
Yep. My note on Musa man of the match was 90+6.
Yeah.
It was just like, I forget exactly I think it was him winning the free kick, where it's just like, yep, like doing all the work right there. Really appreciated it. On his birthday, no less.
Yes, it is his 20th birthday, right?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So maturity beyond his years. I'm going to cheat because this is the Suffering from Joy podcast and I do what the fuck I want. I'm going to shout out Serginho Dest, who I've kind of been shitting on the past two games, and I thought he had a great game. Especially, it looks simple, but the assist on the goal is not an easy header to put across. He was great. There were a couple of times where he was a little out of position or chasing the ball or whatever, but fine. We need somebody to kind of like just do something instead of being like a stodgy system robot. And I think he definitely, more than the previous two games, stepped in and did that. And the other one I want to shout out is Josh Sargent. Yeah, he was great holding up the ball. Yeah. He's great holding up the ball. You know, maybe he makes that extra pass that we talked about instead of rolling it to the back of the net for the second one, saves us 5 years off our lives or several lengthy cardiac bills or something along those lines. But he was fine against Wales, and Haji was kind of fine against England. But I think he was very instrumental in building the attack, chasing down balls that we were playing through the channels, chasing balls over the top, basically just posting up, whether it was kind of a simple ball in straight ahead to him or kind of on the side of the goal towards the edge of the box. His work rate in this game was fantastic. And I know I predicted he was going to score 5 goals, but I'll take this any day.
I have to agree. Like, I thought Sargent was absolutely fantastic today. And mostly in work rate more so than, like, final ball and all the other stuff that strikers are supposed to do. But I don't think you could have asked for much more than him today, other than, like you said, score the goal and save us all years of our life. But, like, we don't watch this game to have years on our life.
Well, if we are, we're making a serious mistake. Brad, anybody you thought didn't have maybe the best game, or somebody you would maybe want to see even like subbed out?
Interesting question. I mean, besides the sub in that I already have gone over, which is Moore, I can't get over how poorly that guy's played. And I just saw a great point, which is if you had told me he has played more minutes than Gio Reyna at this point in the World Cup, I would have laughed at you.
Fuck, throw Gio Reyna at right back.
Huh?
Fuck, throw Gio Reyna at right back.
I would honestly feel better. I would absolutely feel better from a technical standpoint, understanding what the hell we're trying to accomplish, and actually moving the ball up on the wings on an attack. It would make me feel better. outside of that, honestly, I didn't see anybody today that was terrible. You know what I mean? Nobody out there was just completely deficient of their job, especially in the starting 11.
No,
I just wish we had stayed on the attack more for another 15, 20 minutes tonight.
Yeah, and we all assume that's Greg, right?
Yes. There's no way they came out of halftime and saw what they saw in the first half and said, let's not stick with that unless it came from Greg. Because the guys on the field had to know they were dominating that game.
Yeah, I would think so. Brian, anybody you thought wasn't, necessarily up to speed today?
No, I thought everyone did their job fairly well. I disagree with you guys a little bit about Sargent, as I mentioned before. I think he looked, especially really early in the game, he looked pretty lost. But again, I did think he settled in and did a lot of really important work after that. There were times where if his vision was a little bit better, more things would have happened. But yeah, it was a good performance by the starters. We've covered the sort of beat the subs to death already. But yeah, Greg Berhalter doing, one more time, doing the defensive subs instead of what we needed, which was 10 more minutes of possession at that stage. That was probably the worst decision. But in terms of players, I thought they were good.
You are allowed to pick Berhalter if you want to.
I did.
Clarifying the rules.
Seems like a cheat code.
Well, I told you guys we were just going to throw the shackles off and vibes our way through this. So here we are. Braden, anybody you want to talk about?
I thought the starters were pretty good for this match, so I'm not going to go too much on them. I thought Haji Wright was not great today. Like I thought, like it wasn't just the moment where he kind of meekly hits it towards the keeper instead of taking it to the corner. There was a time where, like, I forget exactly which minute it was, but he could have played Aronson in and just kind of, it felt like he kind of gave up or was looking for a foul or something like that.
I know exactly what you're talking about. That infuriated me.
Yeah, it's like your entire reason that you were in here is to battle and to win these balls. Like, you need to go harder for this. And that was frustrating for me. But that's kind of nitpicking. Like, I don't think it's that bad overall. Like, I think all the stars did well. Subs could have done better. But at some point, like, it's kind of why they're subs and not starting is they're not quite as good. So I think it's fine.
Well, it's also kind of hard to come onto a game and impact it as much as a sub. But I'm going to piss everybody off and say I didn't think Weston McKennie was great today.
That's fair.
I can agree with that.
Yeah, well, no, I thought I was supposed to piss everybody off. Well, now all right. No, I thought he was misplaying passes and he was slow on releasing stuff. And I'm glad he was out there, but I don't know if it's his lack of game time or him recovering from an injury or what, but I thought this was his worst game of the tournament, like by far. And I wasn't exactly upset to see him come off. Noted Kellen Acosta, that lover that I am.
Weston was a little bit tired by the time he got subbed, so taking him off made sense. I think and I can't remember who mentioned it, but I think he was trying to do too much, especially in the first half. And I saw him multiple times. I saw him trying to move 2 or 3 other players around at the same time. He's trying to, receive the ball. And it's just, he's great because he's got great vision and he sees things happening, but he was actually trying to force them to happen. And that's just not really how the game works, unfortunately. And so, yeah, maybe a little too eager, trying to take charge and be a leader, which is great. But it just didn't quite work for him today. So I don't know. I'm not too upset about you picking Weston. He did some nice things too, though. I mean, he had that cross that ended up in a goal, so I'll give him that.
What felt like a game that was a little more open than it was. I just saw the XG numbers for both teams too. USA.
You want to read them out?
Yeah, USA XG was 1.24. Iran was 0.25 for the entire match, and it felt like it was a little more open than that. But obviously, those metrics would say no.
No, I mean, as far as an actual shot, they had a header very late on that was close. But other than that, I don't think there was an actual shot that really troubled anyone.
Fair.
Yeah, so we're going to the knockout stages. Anybody have any feelings about Holland? So me personally, I would have rather played Holland just from a matchup standpoint than either Senegal or Ecuador, because I don't like when teams can absolutely just out athlete us. So, and I've been very unimpressed with Holland so far this tournament. Like Cody Gakpo saved their shit a couple times.
Yeah.
But let's look forward. Brad, what do you think? How would Holland, Senegal? Do you have a preference? Ecuador, anything like that?
Oh, very happy we're playing Holland. I that we've already played a UEFA team in England and arguably one of the top two.
We played Wales as well.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. I forgot about Wales. Totally forgot about that.
So did Wales.
Which, just going back to Wales, another tweet that I saw during this conversation was the only goal we've given up is to an MLS striker, which is hilarious.
That's fantastic. That's so good.
But I would rather play Holland, knowing that we've structurally played well so far against two UEFA teams. That their attack doesn't overly scare me, and it feels like another one of these low-scoring 1-0 kind of games that I think we can grind out. I'm with you. If we get into a track meet with a Senegal, there's no way. We would not have won that match.
Braden, any thoughts?
I mostly agree with that. Like, I do think that playing a team that sets up in a somewhat predictable manner, and I think it's something that we can kind of plan for as far as their structure and how they're going to play, I think will help us, because I do think that we had a solid plan for both Wales and England and probably this match as well. But some of the games I've seen with Ecuador and Senegal, I think have been a little bit more open and a little bit more vibesy. And I don't know that that's where Berhalter excels. So I think
I know for a fact that is not where he excels.
Yeah, fair. Okay. All right. I'm trying to be generous here, but
this is not on the Steamtron.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you, Brad.
I think that having a team that I think will be fairly predictable will be good for Berhalter. I think that Frankie de Jong is a very good player for the Netherlands, but when I look at how their midfield plays, I kind of like what Tyler Adams and Musa and McCain will bring there. Like, I think that they'll be able to win that battle in midfield. And I think it's kind of one of those, as long as we're able to control midfield, I think we're going to have a shot in a match. Like, it's a very weird feeling to be a U.S. fan and be like, yeah, I think our midfield matches up with, like, fucking Netherlands.
Yeah. And I'm of the opinion already, like, the team is young. The goal this whole tournament was just to get out of group stage. You know, it's a tough group. Get out of the group stage. Anything there is gravy. So you might play – they may play with a little less apprehension, too, in this next round. I think that's a very big possibility.
You think Greg Berhalter in a knockout game is going to play with less apprehension?
Not Berhalter, the players.
Okay. Fair enough. I think the other thing, and Brian, I know you're kind of a big Holland person too, at least total football style. Their two best players have been Frankie de Jong, as Braden mentioned, who we can key off with Tyler Adams, and Cody Gakpo, who's been playing on Anthony Robinson, who we didn't mention in the best player segment just because he's been fantastic ever since he put on a USA kit. So I think keying on matchup to matchup definitely works great for us. Anything to add there?
No, the matchups. Yeah, I mean, I'm going to make it unanimous. I think the Netherlands is of the two choices was the better one for us, and I trust that the starting plan will be reasonably good. They're a known quantity in a lot of ways, and you know, similarly to us, there's a ton of talent on that squad, but they're not generating a ton of chances, at least from what I've seen. So I haven't looked at the stats, but my sense is that they are also having, other than Gakpo, are having serious problems putting the ball in the net. And so if we go out there and our young guys are presumably going to be a little bit better off than some of their older players after having already played 3 matches. And just trust them. You put a good game plan together and trust them to execute. Jedi versus Gakpo. That's a tantalizing matchup to watch. I can't wait.
Yeah, I'm gonna love it, especially after he the Fulham Arsenal match where he just pocketed Saka, and I was just like, oh, this guy might actually be pretty good. So I was plenty happy to see that, and we definitely match up well. But no yellow cards, so nobody suspended for this game. Brian, I'll let you lead off here. Do you just take kind of the same lineup we've been playing? What changes would you make?
Well, I think we're going to have to make a change with Pulisic, but
Sure.
that's a 1-to-1 with Aronson. I mean, a little bit different players, but I think like Aronson's got all the talent in the world, and but he's looked a little bit nervous for me in this tournament. Done a lot of good things. Yeah, and I think if he starts, he probably settles into the game quicker, and so I'm not worried about that. Even of course, you don't want to lose a guy like Christian Pulisic if he's not able to play, but I'm not too concerned about that. Everyone wants to see Gio, but I think the way that things have gone, there's zero chance that Berhalter is going to get him in the starting lineup right now. So it'll probably be what we saw today to start out with, and depending upon where the guys are, what their fitness data says, will probably dictate the first wave of subs unless something crazy catastrophic or crazy good happens before the 70th minute.
And if Sargent can't go, I assume we all think Greg will play Haji, right? But what would you play, him or somebody else at the 9, or would you play Ferreira? What would you do?
Yeah, I go with Haji to start probably, even though he was pretty poor today. I think bringing somebody more dynamic off the bench when the Dutch defenders are tired is probably it gives us a better chance of really creating something dangerous. You're going to need someone strong to run some hold up play, and Haji's not been great, but he's a guy who knows the core of this team since they were all really young, and I think that Greg probably is pretty set on doing that anyway. So that's what I would expect if Sargent can't go.
Okay, Braden, same thing. Any changes?
So I think we have a change striker. I think that
Hi, striker.
Yeah, I think that Haji does come on for Sargent. Like from what I heard, it sounds like Sargent is going to be ready to go, and it probably sounds like Pulisic won't be either. So I think that it's probably going to be Haji and Aronson there. I think those two do pick themselves, and I think that Haji up against Van Dijk, like Van Dijk, for as big and physical as he is, like he doesn't really like a lot of physical players going up against him. Like he kind of likes his space. He likes to be able to, win the ball and muscle people off. And so if Haji can get into him and put a shoulder to shoulder against him, like I think that's maybe going to be a thing to look out for. I would go with that over Ferreira just because I think that's a challenge that Van Dijk is very prepared for, as well as like you talk about De Ligt, Timber, or whoever they throw out there. Like they have a number of good defenders who are well prepared to handle Ferreira's pace, I think. So I think it's going to be Haji. I think it's going to be Aronson. Look, if you told me it was going to be Reyna instead of Aronson, I'd be perfectly fine with that. But I think it's going to be Aronson.
Brad, anything to add? And by the way, listeners, if you haven't figured it out, Braden's dog is Striker. He's the one who keeps saying hi to us in the background. So I guess I probably didn't make that clear on the last episode, but now we all know.
My addition, I actually disagree. I would play Ferreira up top. I think having fresh legs makes a difference early in the game. If I'm Berhalter, there's going to be a thought of playing this passively and trying to understanding it's going to be a more tactically tight game, kind of like the England game was. I'd go try to steal a goal early. And I think a fresh-legged Ferreira running at the defense would be glorious in that respect. I also would probably play Reyna over Aronson. I think Aronson's been great, but from a 1v1 being able to beat somebody with the ball at their feet, Reyna's better. And I think it's going to take a moment of brilliance to win this game, and he gives you a higher ceiling for that.
Okay. Yeah. I would love to see Reyna. I don't think there's a shot in hell we're going to see it.
I don't either. Now, what I want to see versus what I think we're going to see are two different things. I think what we're going to see is what you guys have laid out.
All right. So, Brian, you're new here, so you get the baptism by fire. That was a hell of a game. What was your biggest moment of suffering?
I was already suffering desperately watching us defending, and then when I saw that penalty shot, yeah, exactly. I saw the penalty shot for Iran, and I just knew that was over. And I knew it was soft, but I just
Which one?
Well, the one at the very end. I can't remember who it was that went down to the box, but
the Cameron Carter Vickers one.
Yeah,
where Turner actually pulled the ball. Okay, yeah.
That one. I forgot the minute and everything, but I just knew it was over for a good.
Nobody knows or cares. It's fine. We all remember it.
I suffered more in that sort of 30 to 60 seconds than I have watching soccer for a long time.
Oh wow. I mean, I get Newcastle hasn't been great, but that's saying something. Brad, how about you?
It was extra time watching the ball slowly roll towards our goal. It's about to go in, and then it finally gets cleared off the back line. I was convinced that ball's halfway there that we were about to draw and be out of the tournament. It felt like it was going in slow motion. So that hurt. And when they finally cleared it out, I think I audibly woke up my wife, who was taking a nap upstairs, and I'm enclosed in my office downstairs. So I was yelling that loud.
Okay, Braden.
All right, you guys already covered the obvious one, so I'm going to go one that's slightly less obvious, which in the 83rd minute, Iran appeals for a handball, and it continues going. And they are vigorously appealing for a handball, and I'm like, oh, no, there must have been something that I missed. And then the replay comes, and it's the most benign, like maybe it grazes someone's finger. I think it was Shaq Moore, like we already talked about.
After hitting like a thigh in a chest.
Yeah. It was like, you got me worked up for this. Like, how dare you?
Well, no. This is kind of mine as well. Mine was the free kick leading up to that.
Yeah.
Because as we all know, I predicted we're going to like get knocked out of this fucking tournament on a stupid free kick in the group stage. But they pull it back, like what seems to be in the middle of the play. Musa had actually like fallen over the ball and handled it, and so they called a free kick for that. But we're like, oh, okay, well, there's no way that was a handball. That was weird. And they like stop the play in what seems to be the middle of the play, and we're like, oh, holy shit. We're actually going to call this. Braden, am I on the right track?
Yeah, 100%.
Okay.
Can I throw out an honorable mention moment of suffering?
Yes.
It's going to be when we have a very great free kick opportunity shortly after Acosta is subbed on, and like Musa steps up to take it. And my notes are like, if Acosta does not take this, like, why is he on the pitch?
Yeah,
totally agree.
I
get it's your birthday, but other shit is going on.
Exactly. Yes.
I will also say there's probably a collective suffering everywhere for the man in the hospital and his testicular torsion right now. Because I think everybody who saw the replay once it happened, if you've had that happen to you, you know.
That's America's testicle now.
Yeah, you just know. I mean, honestly, put it in a glass box, put it in the Smithsonian, and we'll be okay.
I bet if we
it can be like
if we somehow win the World Cup, that probably isn't the most far-fetched idea I've ever heard.
I mean, put it like next to the Hope Diamond, and we can go tour it, and it'll be great. It's fine.
360-degree view of it. This is a weird conversation, so I'm going to move on. Okay, Brian, I know you have to run from us here in a minute because real life takes its toll on all of us. We are into the last 16. Brad kind of mentioned earlier that was kind of his goal, or at least his perception of U.S. soccer's goal. Do you think even if we get blasted by Holland in the next game, this is so far a successful World Cup. Or do you fire Greg if that happens? Do we need to win, or does anything else need to happen for Greg to keep his job?
I think Greg probably preserved his job today, unfortunately. There's been a narrative that I think that for some reason we've lowered the bar, right? When we had much less talent, the baseline expectation for the United States was to get out of the group stage. And then there's all this discussion about I saw a headline that said Greg silenced his critics based on the England draw, which is absurd, right? Like it's crazy, but there's a lot of
there
stuff.
Wasn't even a sick dime there.
Yeah. Exactly.
There's four of us here. We haven't been silenced.
There's a lot of stuff in the mainstream media about that, and then today was a referendum on Greg. Okay, fine. Well, if he lost, sure, it would have been. But I don't know why we lowered the bar to just getting out of the group is now a success, because this team is so much better, light years better than any team we've ever had before. And so good. It was a tough slog to get out, and I'm proud of them for doing that. It's hard for me to say that it's a great success when we've done it so many times before and we have so much more talent right now. But I don't know that that's the narrative that's going to carry the day.
Yeah, and I think when we get late in a game like we did today and we go full vibes, I don't really know how to ask this question because the answer is no, but is Greg a significant hindrance, or is he just sort of a general coaching hindrance? Because he is not a vibes coach at all. How big of a factor do you think Greg Ball is when we have to go into just full, fuck it, throw everything at the wall, let's figure it out type of games like this?
Yeah, I thought Greg was fine today, other than the one decision that I've criticized repeatedly here. But he's not a vibes coach. All I would ask is that they just trust his players when that kind of stuff happens. We've got a young team; they haven't been here before, and so there's a good chance that it's not going to go well whenever the vibes take over. But at some point, you just got to trust the guys out there. They are immensely talented, and I enjoy watching them even when I don't appreciate all the coaching decisions. And I'm happy that we have all these guys on our team, and that we get to witness this for at least 4 more years too.
Those fuckers sucked me in again. Braden, what do you think?
This is a tough one to answer because I think getting out of the group represents the first level of success, because I do kind of think that that is the standard of which I think you have to judge U.S. teams in the World Cup. Is, do you get out of the group? Okay, yes, you check that off that first tick box. So much beyond that, I think, depends on the matchup and how things go. And I don't think he's necessarily going to be held too much to account for losing to the Netherlands. I think that they're a traditional power. I think it's going to be it's an uphill battle. As much as we talked about, maybe that's a matchup we'd rather have. They have a very, very talented squad. I am personally of the opinion that I would like to see us make a change at manager unless Greg gets to the semifinal, just because I think that's important for national teams in general. It's just to get new ideas, get new voices, and that sort of thing. But I'm not sure what U.S. soccer is going to do.
Well, nobody else ever is. And I know you're big on the one coach, one cycle thing. Brad, what do you think? I know you kind of said the goal was getting out of the group, but is that your goal? How do you feel?
Yeah, I think you got to take a step back. I understand we consistently get out of the group when we make World Cup. Fine. And we've done it with lesser talent. Great. But we have to take a step back and remember it's been 8 years since we've been here. And we have to take a step back and remember the psyche of what this U.S. men's national team program was 4 years ago. And also understand that we've got one of the youngest rosters out there right now. So it's easy to think that the moment, even though some of these guys have played like a Pulisic, right? He's played in Champions League. The moment can be large here over these 3 games, and I think it's a success getting out of the group. I would love to go at least make the round of 8. Obviously, the Dutch present a hell of a challenge, but I don't think it's insurmountable. I think Greg keeps his job, and I think you also it's not going to be a popular opinion. Greg's not fantastic. However, he has tactically put this team in a position for the first 3 games to get through the group and to manage the tournament. We should have beaten Wales. If it's not for a stupid play by Walker Zimmerman, we beat Wales. We played a very, very smart, intelligent game against England. And then today, a game that we probably should have won 2 or 3-0 with the way that we played in the first half. So it's hard for me to get on the guy too much when I think we're really just one legitimately dangerous striker away from being consistently fantastic.
I guess Brian's gone already. Well, I tried.
I probably just avoided a tongue lashing from Brian, so it's okay.
Yeah. Don't worry, you're going to get it from me or Braden. Braden, you want to take this one from the leap?
No, I was going to follow up. Like, I feel like a lot of the vibes around Southgate and Berhalter are very similar vibes, where it's a lot of, oh, you're doing terrible. Like, you're not maximizing the talent. It's not attacking enough. It's not what we want to see. But it kind of gets results, even if it's just like good enough. And that's kind of what you need in tournaments. Like, would Berhalter make a great club coach? Like, I personally don't think so, but I think he's kind of doing fine as terms of like a national team coach and getting results. So I don't have that many strong disagreements. Like, I think it's fine. It's just like my personal thing is, a coach gets one cycle and then you need new ideas. But beyond that, like, I think Berhalter's been fine this World Cup. Not great, but fine.
I agree with that. I would love to see some fresh blood for the next cycle, especially because I think we could be more dynamic with the way that we play. However, you mentioned it, Braden. It's a results-oriented game, especially when you get into tournaments, and we're about to be in a knockout situation, right? Where it's just one game in, win or lose, win, go home, win or go home. So ultimately, you need a coach that can manage that, and Greg has shown that he can do that, and he's shown it with lesser rosters, right? I think it's very easy to argue that the Mexican team last year at the Gold Cup brought a better roster than we did, and he still found a way to get that team not only to the final but to win the trophy. And nobody gives a damn if you're winning 1-0 as long as you're winning. We can talk all day about wanting to win prettier, less in a less hectic manner than we did the last 15, 20 minutes, but the fact of the matter is that we're playing Saturday, and that's ultimately the only thing that matters.
Sure, and to some extent that's a bit of a cop-out, though. Like, it works until it doesn't. My issue isn't that it didn't work. It's that I'm worried it's going to stop working earlier than it should. We can take Greg against like kind of the null hypothesis or whatever you want to call it of a U.S. national team coach with this level of talent, and I don't think he's up to snuff. The other elephant in the room here is not Greg himself. It's that his brother hired him, held the job when we were in a full-blown fucking crisis for 13 months. Open. That's 13 months of development we didn't get for anybody for Greg. And if you want to hold the job open for 13 months for Pep Guardiola, Man City, that's one thing. But like just kind of barely eking by. And again, like, great, if we run out and win the World Cup, I will come on here and sing hymns to Greg Berhalter for a fucking week. Fine.
I will hold you to that.
I hope both of you will. I will write my own songs about this. Hopefully better than Soccer's Coming Home or He's the Dest Around. But how it looks right now isn't, okay, well, we kind of won. That's great. Fine. but my worry isn't, yeah, we barely hung on to beat Iran and we should have beaten Wales. Like, can't really blame Greg for a crazy Walker Zimmerman moment, but and I do think he's gotten a lot of things right. So I'm not trying to just kind of be like crazy U.S. national team fan here, but you have to look at how he was hired and say this has to be better, and also look at the fact that we're just barely squeaking by, which, if you barely squeak by and you get to the semis, fine. But the way we're playing right now doesn't look like that's even remotely possible. And that's my big hang up. If we were playing great football and whatever, we get picked off by somebody, fine. But there's sort of a balance you have to have there. Braden, anything you want to add?
So what I was going to say is, what do you think, like, just if you remove Berhalter from it and just put like average national team coach in there, what do you think this U.S. team achieves?
No, I think we're at the minimum right now. If you look at our group.
Yeah, I kind of think the same. Like, I think that like we're basically at, Greg hasn't provided any additional value, and he's kind of, whether or not you want to say that we should have beat Wales the way that game played out, but at the same time, fine, whatever. Like, I think, did you predict 4 points for the U.S. in our preview?
Yeah, I said we would draw Wales, beat England, and lose to Iran. Actually, Seth got it right because Seth always gets it right.
I'm shocked
because I think I had 6 points.
He had us on 5. He did have us scoring 5 goals.
Yeah, I think.
But I guess my bigger analogy here is like we jumped through all these gigantic, crazy, ridiculous hoops for Greg Berhalter, and like most of the people who listen to this watch the Premier League, and we just hit the point of, okay, we qualified for at least the Europa League for me.
I think that's
it's great. I'm not upset about it. I'm happy we did that, but I don't understand people who are like, oh, Greg saved his job and he's the savior of the USA. Like, that sort of shit is completely out of line to me. Brad, anything?
I mean, I think it's a fair point. I think my expectations were just lower than other folks coming into this tournament.
But are they based on like the team from what you've seen by Berhalter? Because you're like relatively new to the whole U.S. soccer.
Possibly, I think it's from watching qualification, right? And that's a Greg thing. He was there throughout qualification, but we have not played well outside of the U.S. in a year, maybe a little more. So I'm not shocked. I keep coming back to, I think youth is playing a part of it, and just a little bit of hesitancy and maybe some nerves. And I really do think that goes away now, because I think there's a ton of pressure on these guys hey, you're expected to get out of the group. Well, now that you're out, bets are off, and nobody's going to expect them to beat the Netherlands. So with the pressure off, I think they play looser. Does that change tactics from Greg or anything? Probably not. Does he still hold the team back from their potential ceiling? Yeah. And I would still like to see him gone after this cycle, because I do think we can be better. But I'm not as down on him as everybody else is.
So I'm going to follow up to that, Brad. Like, I think that we saw in the England game, I think that we saw that Berhalter was able to put together a pretty good game plan for England in a match that we're expected to be underdogs. And I think the Netherlands match will be very similar. Like, we expect to be underdogs in that match. And I think that, whatever you want to say, whether it's tactics, whether it's, vibes, whether it's getting the guys up for it, whatever, like, I think we were ready to play that England match. And I think if it had gone to extra time, I kind of would have fancied us to, like, in a match where, maybe not penalties, but like, although it was England, but in a match where you have to get a winner, I kind of fancy our chances in it.
Yeah. I'm not throwing in the towel on the game at all. I think the way he will set us up and the way that we have been playing defense to maybe hit one on the counter or hit 2 on the counter, I like our chances. I really do. And I would love to revisit, like, what does a Greg conversation look like if we beat the Netherlands and get to the round of 8?
So if we beat Holland and get to the round of 8, would you award him his 4th G?
Yes, he will only be one cell signal behind the latest generation.
By the way, I just got Google Fiber. It's fantastic. I highly recommend it if you guys have the option.
Yeah, live with the birds, man.
Yeah, I know. Sorry about that. I don't know. I feel like we're doing two different conversations here, where I agree we set up great against England, and if we had stuck in a goal, I would be like waving flags for Berhalter, and we probably deserved one. But we're in this weird thing where we play these quote unquote better teams, and like we match up good, and we play well against them. But I don't think we're getting those like big results against them, and also we can't take it to quote unquote lesser teams, Iran, Wales, the way we should. So we're sort of in this weird middle ground, and I don't know what to do with that. Braden, educate me.
I don't really have a great answer for you there.
Rad, you're whack.
Yeah, you say lesser teams, quote unquote, and I got to pull this up exactly to make sure I've got this right.
Iran's 20th, we're 16th, Wales is 19th.
Yes, that's what I'm trying to look for.
I know.
We actually were in, arguably, from a world ranking standpoint, the toughest group in the tournament.
Yeah, but it's not 2014 where we're playing Ghana, Germany, who ended up winning the World Cup, and Portugal.
Sure. Oh, for sure. But from a strictly if you're going to add if you think from a numerical perspective and you add the world ranking points or rankings of all the teams in your group and the lowest number wins is the hardest group, I'm pretty sure we're either the hardest group or the second hardest group in this tournament.
We're certainly the only one in the top with every team in the top 20.
Yeah. So I'm not going to get mad that we didn't smash Iran or smash Wales because they're legitimately good.
We didn't even beat Wales. We didn't need to smash them.
Well, fair. But
we did anyways. Fuck them. That first half was great.
Yeah.
It was.
But I don't. I try to take a step back from a 30,000-foot view and go, that was a hell of a hard group to get out of, and we got out. And I don't think people are giving enough credence to that.
So I'll jump in here too and say I agree with you. I think this is a much harder group than people expected, and I'm proud we got out. And I think Greg deserves some plaudits for doing that. I'm just sort of playing devil's advocate a bit here because people are, you read the headline. Oh, Berhalter silences his critics. Not at all. There's still plenty of things to criticize him on, but yeah, we got out of the group. We did what we should do at a World Cup at this point, and hey, let's have fun with it. It was a great game. We won. Braden, how did you celebrate? Other than jumping on this podcast.
Yeah. I mostly decompressed for a second, and I looked at you, and I was like, I looked at the Facebook Messenger, and I was like, I'm gonna need a minute before I join.
I was actually minorly offended you said that. It's like, yeah, dude, I got it. I understand.
Fair enough, because it was like 4:02 or something, and the game ended, and I was just like, the invite was for 4. Fuck. I'm gonna be there, but I'm sure he'll understand as well. I was just relieved more than anything else. The celebration that I had was for the goal. The rest was just, I'm so glad this is done. Decompress and take a second, grab a few more beers. It'll be fine.
What was your final number, including this podcast? Nicole doesn't listen. I know.
It's probably fine.
Okay.
I'm still on 0 beers for the entire World Cup. So
real men don't count beers. It's fine.
No.
These World Cup matches have been happening during the middle of my workday, man. It's been tough.
Yeah, a little bit.
I scheduled quote unquote focus time on the calendar. It's the key.
Yeah, I think another one I saw was exercise, and I had a bunch of back time off, and I just sort of absentmindedly scheduled the USA World Cup days off, which is the worst fucking decision I've ever made in my life. Because then I had the entire day to freak out about it. No, I think we've done good here. The US did good. Brad, anything you want to wrap up with?
No, I'm just really looking forward to Saturday. I'm actually looking forward to a weekend match where I can go out and watch the game with a group of folks and have a beer and, actually enjoy the vibes of the World Cup outside of my home office.
What's your score prediction?
I'm going to go 1-0 US in extra time.
Okay. Nice. Braden?
I'm going 2-1 US because I have not learned anything from the first 3 matches we've had.
That's a very good answer.
Yeah. Yeah, I have no reason for it, but I'm going to remain optimistic for nothing other than that's why we're here, right? Like, just to support the team and be fans. So
Did either of you
that's
guys
all I've got. I'm sorry.
Did either of you guys get taken aback at all by like how? Because it was weird for me. Like I was reading a bunch of stuff about how terrible everything outside the World Cup was, and like the club season had just taken its pause, and I didn't really get into the World Cup until maybe probably like the day before Thanksgiving. I think it was the Canada-Belgium game where I was like, oh, okay, it's World Cup time now. And I was kind of into it during the England game. And I've definitely loved some of the other games going on. And I've literally watched every single World Cup game so far. But it felt a little odd to me. So does this sort of settle you guys at all? Or are you kind of in World Cup mode at all?
I've been there. I think I've actually watched more of this World Cup than any cup I have in the past.
Okay.
Just the scheduling. Granted, now missing the 4, I'm not getting up for the 4 a.m. games during the middle of the week, especially. Well,
they're over, so you're fine.
Yeah, it's fine. Thank God. But I've been watching more probably than I have been in years past because it being on during the middle of the day or the morning and then pretty much all day for the most part has made it easier for me to follow. I mean, if I remember right, you think about when it was in South Korea, right? Games were in the middle of the night. Just hard to follow.
Yeah, I was also working and had a time I had to go to bed, but I figured it out. Braden?
Yeah, I was going to say, I think in addition to that, it's also like the fact that you can stream. So like I can put it on my phone and watch it watch along the matches, even when, I have something else to do, like I can just kind of follow it along. I do think this like finally feels like the World Cup. Like the tension of being eliminated, I think is the key part to it. Before then, even the England match, it was just kind of like, and perhaps this is just from going to a bar with a lot of England supporters and just like maybe there's a tension of like fuck England for that, but even that was just more about like that specific performance. But today, where it was actually win or go home, not even a draw, not any sort of like looking at any other outcomes.
The most American shit ever, baby.
Exactly. Yeah. Fuck draws. Like you have to win or you're out. I think that's when it really became real to me today.
Taz, no playoffs. Why do you even do this? Yeah, so I'm going to ask you guys a follow-up question, but I'm going to say we draw 1-1 and lose on penalties, which brings us into Braden. Who are your 5 penalty takers?
Fuck, man. 5 penalty takers. Are we assuming that Pulisic is not on the pitch?
Let's assume Pulisic and Sargent are both out.
Okay.
Because if Sargent starts, he'll be yanked before then either way. So.
Yeah. So,
let's roundtable it. Braden, you can pick one. Brad, you can pick one. Then I'll pick one.
Okay, so I'm going to start with Dest.
Okay, Brad?
Ferreira.
Okay, you think Ferreira will be on the pitch, or you would pick him?
I think he gets subbed on late in the game. I don't think you're going to have – if Haji starts and we're assuming Sargent isn't available, Haji's not going to go a full 120.
Yeah, fair enough. I'm taking Tyler Adams. He's done everything else. He can hit a penalty.
Yeah, fuck it. That's a great reasoning for it.
Yeah. Braden, number 4. I guess we'll do 6, but
I'm gonna go with Musa. Kind of along the same like Tyler Adams vibes. It's just like put talent on there.
Yeah, I mean, If that's the case, then you have to sub in Gio at 110, assuming you're going to
Great
PKs.
point. Yep.
Get him some run time, get his blood flowing, and then make him one of your 5.
Don't do a Southgate.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my God. Is that a you have to, or you think Greg will do it, Brad?
I think you have to. If you're looking at going to PKs with 7, 8, 10 minutes to go, you have to sub him on. Hopefully, see if he can steal a goal late. But if not, then he's not in there cold taking a PK.
I will say, and this may not be very popular with a lot of American fans, but like that's a lot of pressure to put on a 19-year-old. And
He's
it's
20.
a lot of pressure. Oh, is he 20 now? Sorry, I guess I was thinking Musa, but who is now also 20.
Yep.
Has he ever taken a penalty? And I say that like I don't know if Dest takes penalties at AC Milan or Barcelona before that, but man, I really hope we don't go to penalties now.
No, but I just think if that's the case, you put talent on the field, right?
Yeah, fair enough.
And guys who could put the ball in the back of the net, and that's a guy that I know can put the ball in the back of the net.
Yeah, because I just don't think we have that many people who take penalties at their club level. So, like, I think you're right. Like, talent is going to supersede everything.
No, I don't think we have anybody who takes penalties, at least at a club level.
Pulisic, Jesus, and that's about it. When he was at, Pulisic has, and then Ferreira at Gallus.
Okay. Yeah, seems like a good sub, and I think we all here want to see him over Haji anyways. So, if Sargent can go and that's the sub, I think that's a good pick. I'm torn on 2 here. Either of our Fulham guys, I'm happy with. Because I think Ream is cool as a cucumber, and he knows how to put the ball in the I mean, he's not a goal scoring machine, but penalties are very rarely, at least at that point in the game. Like an in-game penalty is a very different thing than a penalty shootout.
Yeah.
And I think Ream is just a guy who can walk up there and go, hey, I'm going to slide this in, too bad. And I think Robinson's been great. And if he's feeling it and says, I want to take a penalty, you put him out there.
So you say you put those guys in over Weston for a PK?
I don't think Weston can play 120 minutes, so it's it's irrelevant.
Okay.
Yeah, I agree with that.
So maybe that's an argument for Acosta too.
Yeah, I was gonna say like my kind of dark horse in this was like, are we gonna put Acosta? Like we know how good he is on set pieces in general, but like penalties are not set pieces. These are very different things. Like it is technically a dead ball situation, but it's just not the same type of thing.
No, and I mean he's not. Acosta has some grit, and he's a good player. He's not walking up there like Ainsley Maitland-Niles with all the confidence in the world, even though he's done exactly jack shit in the past 18 months. But Acosta's got kind of what I look for in a player in penalties, so I would be perfectly happy with him taking them.
Well, and did he take one in the LAFC final?
I think he was subbed off, wasn't he?
Oh, you're right.
I could be wrong about that, but
no,
I didn't.
You're right.
I don't remember him taking one. But literally the only part of that game I watched was penalties, so I think I would have noticed him. I don't know. Somebody on Twitter fact check us. Tweet us at SufferingPod.
I'm trying to find it now. I mean, I know he scored on the set piece in the first half.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm trying to find it now.
Okay. So I'll go ahead and give one more question here. We're to the grind stage. Best case scenario. I know we don't know who else has made it out. Braden, how far do we go?
Best case?
Yeah, and I mean, don't say we're going to win the World Cup because that's a cop-out answer.
Okay.
Unless you really think that's...
I'm going to say best case is semifinal.
Okay.
I just think at that point, like if you look at the way that the bracket sets up, and obviously it'll depend on how other teams fare in their groups, but I think that if we can get past Netherlands, it's reasonable. And I haven't like fully looked at this, so maybe I'll look at this after we get done here and be like, oh nope, we're gonna play someone great after the Netherlands if we win. But I think we have a run that if we can get past Netherlands, the next match is winnable. So I'm going to go semis. Like, I think at that point we'll run into someone who's just too good.
Okay, I think we may run into, so we would play C1, which might be Argentina, might be Poland, might be Saudi Arabia. I'm just doing this from scratch in my head. So I think that's not a bad quarterfinal setup, because I think the A1 would play D1, which would be France. So I think England's stuck on the same side as them, but we can go ahead and go through this in a little deeper dive. Brad, how about you?
Quarters, because I mean, if we end up having to play Argentina, I don't see it. I do not see us getting past a team that talented. So for me, it's quarterfinals. This is about as far as we're going to make it.
Okay, I mean, yeah, I guess that's a good point. It would require Argentina to win the group, but we can deal with all that stuff when it comes out and think about it. I think we did good work here today, guys. What do you guys want to talk about, or do you want to jump off?
I have to finish up. I got to take a late phone call for work, so I've got to jump.
Okay, Braden.
I don't have to take a late phone call for work, but I think we pretty much beat this dead horse.
Yeah, I'm sure we'll be back. We'll have some level of analysis prior to the Holland game, just after we collect our collective shit. And we'll be back with you guys. Thanks for joining us. As always, at Suffering Pod, Twitter and Instagram. Braden's on Twitter at TFA Braden. Tune into the Football Academy. They'll give you betting lines on Premier League games and a whole bunch of other stuff. We would love if you guys would give us any sort of review or rating on Apple Podcasts. The reviews really help us, and we have a giveaway that I can announce, I think, on our next episode for anybody who actually sends us a review, which will be awesome. But yeah, thank you for dealing with 80 to 90 minutes of us talking about this game and getting out our crazy, crazy feelings. And we hope you enjoyed it. Feel free to send us some stuff if you guys have other feelings or think we're dead ass wrong about anything like that. Like Brad was about Greg Berhalter.
Yeah, I usually am.
Other than that, no, we appreciate you guys joining us, and thanks for suffering with us. Bye.
Promise here for Austin Jarrett Stroud. It's Diego for goodness! He has written his name into Austin folklore.
They just won't go away.
Oh, he hits the upright again! That's impossible!
The Bears' season's going to end on a double doink.
Altidore squares it. Dempsey's missed it. Donovan has it. From hope, there is glory.